Hi, if you've just joined me, welcome. I'm going to have a little play with creating roofs today. So there's a couple of things I wanted to cover: creating roofs, roof faces, and how to customize my workspace. Okay, so we should get going. I hope you can all see me. I think it's all going. I got it saying that I got no chats at the moment, no concurrent viewers. So I'm going to have a little play. I've just been moving my site model around, which is a silly thing to do, but because once you put your site model in place, you really shouldn't move it. Now you can lock a site model. I'll just go through that. If we select it, we can right click and we can choose lock. I don't think, let me just have a look here. It would be nice if we could lock the location but not lock the site model. That would be kind of cool. So I don't want to move it, so I'm going to lock it, but the problem is that I can't edit it once I've locked it. I have to unlock it first. So I've got my roof. I haven't got a roof, but I've got my walls. I've got my walls and I've got my slab. They're on another layer, which is what confused me. So there they are there. I'm going to rotate my view, because if I rotate the view, it'll make it easier. Up here we've got the rotate plan tool. I'm just going to use the edge of my slab, the edge of my wall. So at the moment it's my slab's getting in my site model's getting in the way. So I click there and come down the edge here, click, and that'll just rotate my view to make it easy. Hey, if you're here, don't forget to drop a chat. What do you want me to cover? I thought I might cover roofs, roof faces, and how to customize my workspace. Because one of the things I use a lot is the customizing of my workspace, so that when I click, my right mouse click shows me just the things that I want. So for example, if I right click on that wall, I can choose Select Coincident Objects, and it selects everything that joins together. And to me, that's a really, really handy one. So I'm going to create a roof based on this shape, and we'll see what happens. So AEC roof, create roof. Now I could add that to my right mouse click. That'll make it quicker. So if I went there, I could add, let's create the roof. It's not there at the moment, so let's customize and we'll add the create roof. Now I do this a lot, customizing my workspace, because it makes it so much quicker. So I want to look at menus, and I want to look at my object context. I've got a little space here already for it, so I'm going to add my roof. Now if you have trouble finding the roof, you can type up here roof, and it'll tell you where the roof face is. Okay, so there's a create roof there, so we drag that into that area there. We're also going to look to see if there's one in here, which should be create roof face, wherever it's gone. Roof face. So where's that? Roof face, there it is. So let's drag that in as well, because these are two that I use a lot. So okay, it's going to save that for me. Just have to wait for it to come back. If you want to tell me what, if you want to stop me, or if you want to ask a question, don't forget to use the live chat, and just tell me what it is that you would like me to cover, or what it is that's giving you an issue at the moment. So I'm going to right click. I'm going to select coincident objects, or select connected objects. So it selects all my walls that are connected. If they don't connect properly, that won't work. So now I'm going to right click again. I'm going to use create roof, and I'm going to create a vertical edge. I find the vertical edge is just a little bit better than the double edge. And the thickness of my roof about 6 inches. Maybe it should be a little bit more. We can use roof preferences, so we can create roof styles if we want. So what you could do is to create the top one here could be, this is my cladding. Let's edit that. So this is my cladding. It's metal, so I'm looking for a corrugated roof. What do we got? We got metal corrugated. Cool, we'll use that material. Now that material is not only going to give me the texture and the color, but it's going to give me the section pen that I want. It's also going to know how thick it is, or the weight of it. So there it is there. It's associated with the roof edge. I could put my purlins underneath that. Those are my purlins. What are the purlins made of? Let's find a material. So the purlins are framing. What have we got? We got wood framing. That one will do. And the thickness is, I'm working in millimeters, so this will be 3 inches, 75 millimeters. Yep, I'm working in millimeters. Okay, to that, and then I could have my rafters. So we've got rafters now. What sort of material are they? We could look for framing again, and they'll be insulated. So, so the thickness of those, we could have 6 inches, so 150 millimeters, 6 inches thick. It's got insulation, so when I do a section, there will be some section cladding here. So you can see here, my section is going to show insulation. Okay, now the next question is, which of these components is going to be the insertion point of my roof? So I'm going to choose my rafters as the insertion point. Let's go OK, and we'll have a look. Right, so now we've got that set up. So now we've got the roof pitch, 20 degrees, the bearing height. We want that to be about 9 feet, so I can type in 9 feet. Even though it's a millimeter file, I can still type that in. My roof overhang, 24 inches. And I'm going to go OK. Now it's going to put on the roof main class, which is cool. Click OK, and there's my roof. So if we look at this in 3D, now I do have a new mouse, so I'm going to have a play with my new mouse. So the idea of my new mouse is that if I click here, I can look at a predetermined 3D view that I've created. And I want to turn the view round. So this new mouse spins around and it zooms in and out, and it flies over as well, which is kind of cool. Now I'm still getting used to it. I've only had it for a couple of days. It's a 3D connection mouse. I've got to thank them for sending it to me. I just wanted to try it out, and it comes with a mouse and like a joystick, and so I'm still having fun with it, and I'm still trying it out. There's some subtlety to using it, but I tell you what I really love is this ability to have quick access to some of these things. I got my views set up. I also set up there's buttons on my mouse which I've set up, and that's created these different views. I think it's that one there that I want, which should set me to a view. I can choose my selection tool if I need. So that to me is really pretty handy. Now I'm going to change back to my roof. So let's turn the view around. Now it's going around the center of my view because I've got this option here selected. You'll notice here that's the option I've got selected when I go to my flyover tool. So it's flying around. Okay, so let's bring that back. So I want this one to be a gable. So click there, that's now a gable end. Let's have a look at the gable. How thick is my wall? So you can put a wall under the gable if you want. Now if you want to put a separate wall between this wall below and the gable wall, then you tick this one here, show wall, and that will apply a gable end wall, which you can texture differently to the wall below. I don't tend to do that. I tend to have my wall continuous up there, but if you do need it, that's how you do it. So it's a gable end, the roof overhang, click OK, and then it updates our roof, and there it is there. So let's do this one again. So let's click there. That wants to be a gable, and OK. So it's coming along, and I can now start to add extra gables to my roof. There's a gable there. But you get to a point where you start wanting to create a much more complex roof, or you want to change some of the design of this roof. For example, you might want the entire end of this roof to be a gable. I'm not sure why, but you could. Let's just try this one. Let's make that a gable as well. And maybe at this point we just say that's enough. That's a reasonable roof. It's got the style that I want. And now that I've got that roof selected, I do want that roof to be on a separate layer. So here I'm going to click. I was going to right click, but no. So it's a new design layer. It's my roof. And I do want to edit this after creation. So let's go OK, because I want the elevation to be the same as the elevation of my house. Now I don't think it is, and I don't know what the elevation of my house is, so I'm going to have to come back and change it. So let's OK that, and we'll go back to our settings. Oh, it looks like it was in the right place, but I'm just going to show you. If I go back to organization, have a look here, and let's have a look. Design layers. So I do want those two to be exactly the same elevation. That's good, they are, so I don't have to worry about that. And now what I can do is if I go back to my house, I can select my walls, this wall here. So I want to select everything that's the same kind of object, which to me is really, really useful. So I use this quite a lot, which is the Select Similar tool. Let's click on that, and it selects all those objects that are similar. Now that might be quite a handy thing to have on my, I've forgotten what it's called now, but this little selector that comes up, where you can select the different things. I've got the Reshape tool, Add Surface, Wall Join. So I've just added some of those to make it easy for me. But I'm going to go back to the Select Similar tool, select my wall, so it should select all my walls. Now the reason it's selecting just my walls is that I've already preset some of these settings. So when you get Vectorworks, it just has the active class or the active settings here. I've actually changed this to say active class, or the class, so all the classes have to be similar. Or I've set this up to show class and object and just object itself. So in this case, a lot of this will be the same. It'll select the same kinds of objects because there's very few layers and very few classes and very few objects. But if you're interested in that, don't forget to drop a comment so that I know what you want me to talk about. So I'm going to do object and class. Now to set those, you go in here and you set what you want, click on the save button. It saves you so much time. So let's select all my walls and AEC, and it's fit walls to objects. Now that would be really handy, I think, if it was on my right mouse click. It's not at the moment, so that would be another thing that I could add. I do use it a lot. Things that you use a lot, why not add them to your right mouse click? So I'm going to do that again. So here, let's customize, and we're going to go to menus. And it's object context, and you can see I've got create roof and roof face. So under AEC there's one called fit walls. Where's it gone? Fit. No, it's under architect then. If you lose it, start looking for it. You can see it didn't highlight AEC. There it is under architect, fit walls to objects. Let's grab that. It's just giving me a little bit of a fight at the moment. Just doesn't want to drag across. Come on, you. Oh, now it won't drag. I don't know what's... Why won't you work? There it is. So now I've got it. Done. Okay. I just had to wait, and it wasn't until I had to hold my cursor on it a bit longer than I expected. So I've got that now. Now I do have my roof. So what I've done is I've created this roof in a separate layer. Using the fit walls to roof is really useful if you have objects in a separate layer. So if I go right click now and I choose fit walls to objects, it's only going to fit that one wall. So let's go, what do I have here? Select connected objects. Let's choose that one. And then we go right click and fit walls to objects. So here is the tricky thing. You're going to say, let's constrain the tops of my walls to my selected objects on the roof, but I can also constrain the bottoms of my selected walls to objects like the site, and it might actually make my walls follow the site model. I have to make sure that the elevations are correct, and I haven't. So we just have to see. But I'm not going to choose the bottom. So someone did ask me recently how you can create a wall that goes between two separate roofs on a larger project. And the answer to that is that you have two objects that will do the job. So you need the roof on one layer and another object to represent the lower part of the roof, and you can go through that. Where are we? No, we're not going to constrain the bottoms. Click OK, and now you can see I've got my walls are, there we are, so my walls are fitting exactly, which is really cool. So I'm just using my new mouse at the moment, and I love this thing. You can just spin it round. I'm not very good at some of the other techniques it's got. As I said, I've only had it for a few days, but I do like playing around with that. I do love these things here. We can click and go to different views. So that's kind of cool, but I'm still struggling with this. Let's turn that around. I want to go around to this view here, and I can reset views as well. So I found that if I go to, let me just zoom in to there, and I go and I say that one, I'm going to redefine or save the view. Let's have a look. We'll save this as view 1, and I'm going to replace the old one. So now what happens if I get lost like this, I can go right click or click on that first button. I can choose view 1 and it'll take me back to it, which is kind of cool, just when I get lost. So this, going back to my roof though, so that roof's okay, and if you're chatting with me, don't forget to, or if you want me to answer a question, don't forget to write a comment, add something in the chat so that I can see it and I can respond to it. So that's what you might call as my simple idea for my roof. This is just a reasonably straightforward roof, and it's got the gables that I want. If you want to make this into a flat roof, you can just keep making this into gables, and it will make a big area of roof you can make into a gable, and you can leave it a roof, which is okay. Now the other thing I wanted to cover was that if you've got two very big roofs that are coming together, how do you deal with those? And I can't remember if we dealt with those last week or not, but I thought since I'm doing roofs, I'll just make sure I've covered that off. So I'll leave that. Okay, so one of the things that quite often comes up is a roof where you've got one roof doing this and another roof doing that, and they intersect each other. So we added this to the right click, didn't we? Create roof. So let's create that. It doesn't matter what we use, but last time we had vertical and the bearing height 0. I'm just going to leave these as 0 at the moment because all I really want to do is show you how these work. So right click and create roof. Okay, so I've got my two roofs. I'm going to make that one a gable. What is it? Alt G, isn't it? Alt G. Okay, there, and make this one a gable as well, which is Alt G, and okay. So those two roofs should intersect each other. What have I done wrong? Oh, this one's got the wrong elevation, isn't it? I should have changed that. It's a 0 and entire roof. Cool. So I've got these two roofs now that intersect each other. Now my trick is, this is an old trick that I've used for a long time, my trick is to select those two roofs. Oh, skylight and a roof. Yeah, really cool. Do you want me to make the skylight as well, or do you want me to use a Vectorworks skylight? Somebody's just asked a question if I can show how to put a skylight on a roof. more than happy to do that. But do you want me to make a skylight from scratch as well? Because that's something we could do. Or I can just explain to you what the really important parts are about creating a skylight. And skylights can only be square, by the way. You can't make a circular skylight. But if you want, I can show you how to do that too. I've forgotten where I was. Oh yeah, okay. Modify, convert copy to lines. Now I do love this trick, the convert copy to lines. So here under convert copy to lines, it will look at the three-dimensional view of the house, or the two roofs. It'll calculate a hidden line rendering of where those roofs intersect. So let's have a look inside this. And there it is there. I'm just going to hide stuff outside. So this is how the roof should look. That this roof here should penetrate this one at exactly that point. Now you might say that's easy because it's all at 45 degrees. So let's make one of those roofs slightly different. Let's rotate this one. Let's get our rotate tool. Let's rotate that. Because now it's a little bit trickier. How do you calculate that mathematically? To me, this is just too difficult. Let's make that 20 degrees. And we'll make this one 20 degrees as well. Again, this becomes quite difficult in 3D or mathematically to calculate it. But with my trick, it's really simple. So you just select both of them, modify, convert copy to lines, headline rendering. Let's look inside the group. There it is there. So there it is. It's so easy. So now I'm going to use my polygon tool. I need that shape. I need that one. And I need to add it to this one. So shift key, click, and I've got the two shapes that I want. So let's copy those, Control C, and we're out of there. So this thing has done its job. I can delete it. Now when I go paste in place, Control plus Alt plus V, I think it is, isn't it? Edit, paste in place, there. Now this roof, or this polygon, needs to cut out from that roof. Now before we go too far, let's have a look. There it is there, you can see them. There they are, cool. Okay, so if I select that roof and that object, right click and choose Clip Surface, the clip surface takes a portion away from this roof. You can see it's now got a different shape. If I select that polygon and that roof, right click and I use Clip Surface again, it then takes away the other part, and now my roofs fit together perfectly. I think that's so cool. Okay, so now somebody wanted to have a skylight on the roof. Let's make that a gable end. Okay, so the skylight is from the resource manager. So I'm going to look for a Velux. Let's just use a Velux to get started. We've got Velux skylights. Let's choose which is a nice one. That one. Okay, now the way we do this, the way we get that to drop on there, you've got to look out this carefully. So you drag the skylight. Let's go download it. Alright, let's try that again. Now, so you drag and drop that onto the roof. Click, OK. Let's just say don't import that. OK. A bunch of things. Now, straight away, what have we ended up with? Dormer window. I didn't want a dormer window. Now, the important thing is that this dot down the bottom here is what's controlling that object, and it's controlling the window. So click, and I'm going to say Edit Skylight, and then OK again, and now it's a skylight. Now if we go back to a plan view, you can see there's the little handle controlling the location of that skylight. But the challenge is often that you wanted that skylight to be over here. We want the corner of that skylight to be here. You can't drag it. You've got to use mathematics. When we select the roof and we click on that button there, this is measured from the offset from the corner. Now it's clearly the offset from the other corner, not from this corner here. Now the 2400 should be measured from the offset of that roof up here, and here's what it's telling you. It's telling you that right here. This is what it's saying, offset from the corner and from the building line. So if we select the roof, click there, so that's my line there, so that's the line that's important. So if I go here, let's draw a line along there, and we measure from there to the start of my window. So if I just click, I'm going to use the G key, start there. So that's 2400. So from there up to there is 2400. So that's where I want it. What I really want to know is what are the distances. I'm going to use the measuring tool because the measuring tool is going to give me some stuff that I can come back to. So I need to remove that much from my object, and I need to move that much as well. So if I go back to here and I select my roof, now this is just the way it is. I'm sorry, there's not a better way to do this. Now if I had clicked here to start with, the dormer window would have ended up there, but I didn't. So the offset from the corner, so minus 3010, because that's the distance I need to move it back, and the distance here is minus 1042. This is all in millimeters. And then we go OK, and now it's in the right place. Now the other thing is, if you do want to get rid of the skylight once you've made it, back you come. Where's it gone? I've lost my roof. There it is. Let's get rid. I just want to get rid of clean up some of those lines. Now if you want to get rid of the skylight after you've made it, you click on it, you click on the dot again, and you click on remove object, and that'll get rid of it completely. Now when we want to edit that skylight, there's a couple of things to look out for. Let's go up to, not that one, this one here, YouTube Live. There's our Velux. Let's edit that, and we'll edit the 3D components. Now the 3D components are important. We need to know which is the inside and the outside of this. And if you look carefully, this is the outside of my Velux, and that's the inside. And if we look at this in a top view, there it is there. So in top view, what you need is you need to create your extruded objects on this plane, and then they come down. And that's just the way it is with the Vectorworks Skylight. It uses this face, so it's using this face here as the insertion point of your roof. Then that is the part, so that should be fitting onto the roof. There should be a flashing in here somewhere, I think. If we exit that and we look at this in detail, let's just have a look. Now you can see it. So you can see what's happening is that is the insertion part of the roof, so that bottom edge is touching my roof. Can we edit it? Why don't we have a bit of fun with that? Let's see. Right click, let's edit the 3D. I wonder if we can have a bit more fun with that. Edit the 3D component. So back to a plane view, top view. I'm going to work in a plane view. I'm going to select all of that stuff there, and I'm going to use my move by points tool. I use move by points a lot. Maybe we shouldn't in this case. Or I can use my 3D dragger, which is really handy because you can move this to a specific location. So let's move it to there. I want that face. And then I'm going to go back to that where I'm going to just drag that up till it's sitting about there. Now that should make that part touch my roof. And there it is there, you can see it. What I've done is I've dropped the flange inside my roof, and so now I've got that. I tell you what, you know what this really needs is a flashing that goes around it. If I wanted to put a flashing around it, that would be extrude along a path. Someone wanted to demonstrate how to extrude 2D objects. I can start off simply. I'll start with a brand new file, I think. So let's start with a brand new file. Now, the simple way to extrude an object is to draw a shape and then grab hold of it. Now you notice that it turns red. I can click and I can drag that up. Now the reason this is so quick is because I've got these two options selected here, the push-pull and the push-pull combine. So once you've created an object, you can grab hold of it and you can pull it, and it's just really quick. Now I've got here auto plane. This is the automatic working planes, and it means that I can find an object and I can snap to it very quickly. Now at the moment, all my snapping is just adding another extruded object. So that's not joined to this, and so on. If you join those, if you change that mode to this one, when you draw those objects and you go into the object that you started in, it's instant solid modeling. That subtracts solid. If you click here and you bring it out, then it's instant add solid. And that can be really quick. So just going back, so if you just want to do a simple extrude, you can create a shape, model on the menu bar, and you can choose extrude. And you can give it a height, 2 meters, and then when you look at it in 3D, there it is, an extrude object in 3D. I just find the 3D method so much quicker because you can draw your shape and you can extrude it. You can go in any direction you want. If you wanted to go to this roof and look at this in 3D, I've got auto plane again, I've got a rectangle. I'll turn that off. If you don't turn this off, it's going to add this to my roof. So let's say, for example, we want to create some solar panels. Alright, so there's my solar panel. The solar panels are about, what are they, 1.5 inches, 1.5 inches thick. I've now got a solar panel. Now if you wanted to make it a little bit more realistic for a solar panel, what you could do is to draw another shape inside this one. So I'm going to draw another shape exactly the same size, and I could then pull that in. But before I pull it in, I'm just going to take some, I'm going to take 1 inch off each side. There it is there. Now I've still got my instant push-pull, so I click and I'm going to bring that down -5 millimeters, or -1/4 inch. Now you can see I forgot to change this option here so that they were instant push-pull combined, so I need to do that all over again. So let's just delete that object. I'll do that again. So this gives me the ability to snap exactly to the same size. So what did I do? I took -25 off there and -25 off there, and then I turn this back on, instant push-pull combine, -1/4 inch. And you can see what I've got now. I've got something that looks a bit more realistic. It's got the little edge going around it, and so on. Now, I'm struggling at the moment because I've got a keyboard shortcut that I haven't set up. I don't know if anyone else has got this issue as well. Instant data bar activation, this one here, allow numeric keypad for instant data bar activation. I don't know if you noticed, but in the middle of doing that exercise, when I typed in the 6, my view changed. And the view changed because my numeric keypad number 6 is a hotkey to a view. So I'm going to change that so that whenever I start to create an object, I don't have to hit the tab key to get started. I can just type in the size I want. Tab, -800, enter, enter. And to me, that's a really quick way to model. Okay, let's do that. So did that answer your question about the extruding 3D? I do a lot of extruding. It's very quick. I like that little solar panel. That's kind of cool. Let's create some more of them. Let's use my Move by Points tool. This is one of my favorites, the Move by Points tool. Where has it gone? This one. I'm going to create some duplicates. And I'm going to start here. I'm going to go along the ridge of my house. There's a couple there. I didn't keep the original. I should have kept the original. let's move, first of all, let's get rid of that one. We'll move along to the end of the roof. Let's do that. So select that object, move along to the end of the roof. No duplicates, this is just moving. And because I'm using the ridge, it doesn't get it stuck inside or outside the roof. It's keeping it on the face of the roof. So now we're going to make some duplicates. What do we do? We don't know how many we're going to make. So we're going to make one at a time. Oh no, we better make more than that. Let's make 6 and see how many we get. Okay. So click here. Here we get 6 along there. And then we're going to have one duplicate from there down to there. Oh, wrong one. I need that one as well, but not this one. So we're going to go back to my move by points. And I'm going to go down the face of there. So let's just click there. Yeah, but it's going. So how did that work? Let's have a look. But you can see what's happened. They didn't follow down the roof. So what we need to do is we need to do this in 3D. Not that one. But they didn't go down the roof, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go down the roof face if I can. So let's try that. Going to start up here. Going to come down. Oh, I've got my roof selected. And soon I'm going to stop playing with this, don't worry. So coming down the face of the roof. Now hopefully they stuck on the roof. Yeah, that's better. So there we are, we just created those, put solar panels on. If you make them into a symbol, of course, you can pop them into here. If it was an outdoor structure with exposed rafters, would you model the posts and framing? Absolutely. So Josh, if you wanted to create them as a exposed, but I would go one step further if you don't mind. So we're going to use the building shell. I would create them as posts, and I would use the structural member tool if you've got it. If you haven't got Vectorworks Architect, you're missing out on a lot of tricks. But if you do have it, I would use this. I would use the structural member, because if you use the structural member, you can create your own styles. So for example, there's a rectangular concrete column, there's a square column here, structural. I want to have a wooden one. I thought there was a wooden one I could use. I'm going to start with this one. Select that one. Now I'm going to edit it. So this is a style. This is a style, which means that if you create a style, then you can really easily make your own columns. So let's just go click there. Which way am I drawing? Structural steel column. So that should be a column. Can't create a zero link structural member, but that shouldn't be, that column shouldn't lean over like that. 0, pitch should be 90, there we are. So I've got a straight column. But this is a style, so I'm going to convert this to unstyled, because what I want to do is actually create it like it's made out of timber. If I go to the settings, I can then go through the settings here. I can select the shape. I'm going to make it wood. We're going to choose a shape, rectangular, and it's about 5 inches, I think. 125 by 125. And the material is framing or wood, lumber. Is that lumber? Do they call it lumber? No. Timber, so timber framing. Okay, we'll use that one. So that should have given me my material as well. So that's that edge there. Now, one of the reasons I like using this, I don't know if you saw my podcast recently, or my tips and tricks on my YouTube channel, sorry. That under geometry, I can start to control things like the elevation, so the layer wall height. So we're going to use layer elevation for that, layer elevation for that. So my start is going to be 0, my end is going to be whatever you want. Let's make it 9 feet. And that should give me my column at the right height. But one of the really cool tricks with this, I reckon, is this thing here where you can choose the attributes and you can tell Vectorworks how that column should look at different elevations. And if you do this into beams, your beams are three-dimensional. They, when you are above them, they appear to be solid, and when you're below them, they appear to be dashed. It's really cool. I did a YouTube movie recently called Structural Member, controlling the graphic attributes of the structural member. I thought that was kind of cool. So there it is. So there's one column. I would make that into a style. Structural members. I'll put them all in together. Okay. I think after all that I forgot to put it into the folder. So this is my 125 post. Now if I want to make 4 of those, why not use the duplicate array tool? Duplicate array. We're going to do a rectangular array with number of columns is 2, rows is 2. The separation, let's make it 10 feet apart, 3 meters I think. With no stacking. So that's what I'll do to start with to create those. Now we're going to go and make the structural member, and we want a wooden beam. We've got a wooden structural member. There's a truss. Right. So we're going to start there, go across to there, and it creates one and another one there. So you need some beams to support those. Now notice how these are now dotted in plan view. Also check the elevation of these, make sure that they're correct elevation. At the moment it says they're at 0, so we're going to set those, at the moment they're set to the layer wall height. So they're automatically at the right elevation, I hope. So we'll just check those. They should be on layer elevation, and I think they should be at 3 meters. And that one should be at 3 meters as well. Now I could have set, oh sorry, that was 9, was it 9? It was 9 feet. Nine feet and 9 feet. Now that's 9 feet to the center of my beam. Let's convert that to unstyled. We'll now make them both into a new plugin style. So it can only do one at a time. So let's do that one. And we'll call this, we'll put this in structural members. Okay. And it's going to be called beams. So what's the shape? The shape is not that one, it's a rectangular. The major depth is 8 inches, 200, and 2 inches wide. Now before we leave this, we've got to go to the geometry and say that my insertion point is the bottom of my beam. The way we do that is we go alignment, bottom center. I thought you could click on the dots, but you don't. Now the attributes should be, if we're above the cut plane, we want to see the member, we don't want to see the cover, and it depends on the project. Now if it's a really large commercial project, you might have cover over it, and you might have a center line. So you can choose to turn those on or off if you want. You can also change the graphic style of this. So you can choose this, it can be a line type. You can then choose the particular line type that you want to use. Right, with a long single dash. I want that to be off. Structural member style. Yeah, that's off. That's off. At cut plane, there's no the cut plane. I want to see the member. I don't want to see the cover. I don't want to see the center line. Below cut plane, I don't want to see the cover. I don't want to see the center line. But I can also change the line weight or the line thickness. So at the cut plane, this should be really heavy. Below, I want this to be slightly heavier. And above, I want this to be thin. So, okay, member, no center line, okay. So you can see that's jumped up to that point there. Now because I joined them together, they're going to look like that. Maybe I shouldn't have joined them. But you can see now I've lost my cut plane. Also, the other thing I quite like about this, let's edit that style. I can also choose the graphic attributes. This is something I forgot to do in a recent YouTube thing. Why don't I set that structural member fill style to be none, and it's only none. Is that the beam? So it should have hidden its beam. It should have hidden its fill, and that becomes a really cool trick. But the really neat thing is once you create all your rafters, you can then ask Vectorworks to count them, which I think is really useful. That ability to count them up. How we go? I think we're just about out of time. We didn't get to do all the stuff on the roofs that I wanted to do because there was other things that I wanted to do. But I covered this, which is really vital, being able to do that. And I was going to cover roof faces as well. So there was a time when we used to draw the roofs and we'd decide how we wanted our roofs to come together. We may not have liked this style here. We may have wanted that gable to go all the way through. And I was going to show you how to do that, but I don't think I've got time to do all of that. I did want to cover creating a roof face, so I'll do that. Let's do that over, let's do that in here. So let's say, for example, I want to put a roof face in this building. Actually, I don't like it over there. I'm just going to draw an area and do my roof face. So let's do a rectangle. Do a couple of them. So when you create a roof face, you draw the shape first. Oh, Javier, did you want to see how to put a circular hole in your roof? So let's do a roof face. So we do this, we go AEC, roof face, and then we put in the axis Z. So this is the height of the roof. It's the height of the roof above the layer. So we're going to make that 9 feet. The angle of my roof is 20 degrees, and I'm using angle. So I click where I want my line to be. This is my pitch line. So that's my eaves out here. The arrow points up the roof, and there it is. We're now pointing up the roof. So we select this one, and we do right click. Have I got it on here? Yeah, there we are, roof face. So this time I'm going to use rise over run. So it's same angle or same axis Z. My rise is, we're going to do 1 and 4. 1 and, should we do 1 and 2? 1 and 2. So I go along 1 inch, I go along 2 inches, up 1 inch. Should be quite a steep roof. There we are, so it's much steeper. So I'm going to undo that. Undo that. Undo. It's back to a rectangle. So what would be really cool is if you could create a roof face that actually stopped at a specific height. So where's my 3D tools? 3D is not visible. Let's go to my Vectorworks preferences, display, 3D loci always. Now my 3D loci is down on the ground there. I don't want it there. I want to know the height of the top of this roof, so I'm just going to put a 3D locus up there, which gives me the height that I want. So when I create, so I need to copy that. I need that information. So when I do this roof here, I want this roof to start at the height that the other one started at. So let's go. We've got it selected, right click, roof face. So there it is there. I want to do second height click. Now the height is measured above the start point. Now we know where we want it to end up. We want it to end up there. But we have to take away our start height, 2743. And it's the second height click. So this is the really important part. We create our roof face there, so that's our start line there. But the next click is where the top part should be, where the maximum height should be. We want it to be on there. Now when we look at this in 3D, we should find that that roof, let's go orthogonal. Where's orthogonal? Yeah, orthogonal view. So what we should find is that the top of that roof almost matches this. Now the reason it doesn't is I forgot to calculate that this was the roof thickness. So I've got the 3D locus matches the underside of that roof. I should have dropped it down by the thickness of my roof. There we are. So we've done that. We've got this working. We've done some of these columns. If you don't want to use the columns and make them into structural members, the other thing you can do is just draw rectangles and extrude them. And when you do that, don't forget you can change your style so that you're now drawing. So from here, so I'm just going to do a rectangle, a regular rectangle. So from here to there. So a quick way that I would do it was to do that. Set your insertion point to the center. Let's make that a 90 millimeter, so it's 4 inches thick. Here I'm going to add 12 inches to each end. So I go plus 600 millimeters, and you can see it's just made that rectangle wider, which is really cool. And then you can go extrude and extrude that. And the extrusion's only 8 inches, 200 millimeters. Now that's sitting on the ground, and you need to lift that up to the top of this. But you can use your Move by Points tool. Start at the corner of your column, finish at the corner of your column, and you've got a copy. I didn't really want to copy. So I can now grab this one. Now you could cut the ends of this if you wanted. You could chamfer the ends. There's a chamfer tool in Vectorworks that works quite well. But if we stick with the tools we've used so far, so from that point down to that point, and you can see I've now got my 2 columns and I've got the beam on top. So the next one I want to create is I want to create another beam on top. Now I'm slightly lazy, so what I tend to do is just duplicate what we've got. Now there's a duplicate command which I use all the time, which is under General, was it Edit, Allow Control Click in Place Duplication. What that means is that if I control click on that object, I've now got an extra object there. I've got 2 extrusions. I'm going to rotate that using Control L, and I'm going to change that to 45. So that's now a rotated one. I'm just going to drag a copy of that, drag the original up to that point, and use my Z key if I need to zoom in and find the center of that. I lost it. So center of it there. And I'm going to change it so they're both the same. Now at the moment it's at the wrong elevation. So how do we change the elevation? I'm going to use my Move by Points again. This time just move it, not copy it, from there to there, so it sits at the right elevation. You can go back to Vectorworks and say, look, I want that to be just a lot longer, so let's add 1.5 feet to each one, plus 900, and it just adds it. But before we start to copy these, why not have a bit of fun with the end of it? and take some bits away from it. Let's use the circle tool. I'm going to use the circle tool, auto plane, using these again. So I don't know if you noticed, but we're repeating a whole lot of techniques that we're using. We got auto plane there. Let's go to the center of that, and then I can cut that away, and that just becomes a really quick way to do it. So if we move down here, we do the same thing. Click there. So we need auto plane first. So there's our auto plane. Click, go to there, pull that through, and we've cut that away. We've got those nice little bits on there. Now we want to have a whole bunch from the center of this structural member to the center of that one. So I'm going to use my move by points again. This time I'm going to distribute them. What do we think? 15, 20 of these things? I have no idea at the moment. So I'm going to go to the center of that one, click, and there's my columns. Now the challenge with this one, the reason I would use structural members or framing members is that I could count those up. I could get the quantities, the lengths, and I could do a whole schedule of those things. So I guess that's about time we wrapped up. I'm just having a look at my watch. It's about time we finished. Thank you very much for coming. I really enjoyed having you here. I hope you've learned something. If you're interested, I'd love you to visit my website. Let's just have a look. I think I've got one here. So let's just bring that across. So
what's it doing at the moment? It was load bearing.
This is my website. So what I'd like to just show you is this is my new website. This is my school. We've got a community. We're now starting to develop an active community. I've got a classroom here. So this is my courses. They are all available if you join my community. Yeah, I appreciate there's an investment required here. It's not for free, but I do spend a lot of time here. I've got some sessions coming up soon. Next week I've got an architect webinar, which is an interactive one. I'm dealing with layers and classes, and what's that one? Layers and classes, and I've got a landmark session coming up. So members get the ability to join that, and there are all of these classrooms, and I'm adding to these all of the time. So I was actually using today one of these manuals here. I was using this roof manual, and it's one of the manuals you can download from my website. And there's quite a few here. We've started to create manuals for 2025. We've looked at layer and class mapping, stories we did this week, and next week we're doing stories and layers and levels again. So I created a manual for that, and it's I really appreciate your time. So thanks for coming, everybody. I'm going to stop. Just make sure I've got, yeah, I think I've answered all your questions. So next week, don't forget to come. It might be slightly later next week because I forgot about daylight savings. Thank you.